morning. Oh, we're having that issue with Facebook again, huh? Oh my goodness. Let's remove it. That's how I did it last time, right? And then we add it. Goodness, hold on, everybody. Let's try it again. Is it working now? Yay! I
Are
don't know.
we there yet?
It's so strange, but you know what? I'm grateful that that's an easy fix. Like that, we were able to figure out how to fix that really quickly because that would have been a stressor, especially because most of our audience is on Facebook. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. Happy Tuesday. It is August 15th, the middle of the month already, and we are in the month of taking action. So, we are checking in and making you accountable to see if you are actually taking action this month and what that's looking like. So, good morning, everyone. I am the Badass Buddha, one half of the fabulous and beautiful and dynamic duo that is Viva Cafe con Leche. I am broadcasting from Eastern Tennessee. Loving being down here. It has been rainy, which is really wild. And man, do they have some thunderstorms down here. I can't wait for Gladiator Guru to visit because I know she loves her rain. And the beauty is that we have covered porches where you can just sit and enjoy the rain and hear it and be a part of it, but not get soaking wet if you don't want to, or you want to, doesn't matter. Can't wait for me to start broadcasting from different locations once the house is put together a little bit more, and then you'll be able to enjoy the space with me. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Desare's in the house, and Milagros.
Hola, Milagro. Hola, Desiree. You know what? It's just so exciting. I think it's even when you move into a new apartment, either you finally get your own apartment or you move in your family and you get up early before anybody. And I'm sure you do this in Tennessee, and you just walk around. And it is like the house is hugging you.
Yeah.
Like they're throwing you a welcoming party in whispers. And that's what I love. Let me write that down because I could use that in one of my blogs. I am so amazing. I amaze myself sometimes.
I amaze myself too.
Party in whispers. Hola, mi gente.
Good morning, Leanne.
Sorry, I've been writing like crazy, and every little thing that comes to mind, whether I use it or not, I write it now. I am La Margarita, your gladiator guru, here from a very rainy Ansonia, Connecticut. I see the sun starting to peek out, but I think it started raining really bad since 3 a.m, and I love it. I woke up, I went outside, because that's just how I love it. You know how people just love sunny days. People love just sunshiny days and carefree and no. I think I love the rain. I love the dark, cloudy, thunderous, lightning striking every 3 seconds downpour.
I love it all, to be honest with you. I love it all. I love the sunny days. I love the rainy days. I love the thunder. I like when it's windy out, and like I have a lot of wind chimes, and we have such great, the hanging porches are perfect for the wind chimes. So it's
Yes.
But I also love the snowy days. It's just a matter of, and I think that's what's so special about being here. The weather is so similar to the Northeast. So as you're saying what the weather is there, I'm like, the weather is that way here. And it's so funny that it's all these miles away, but it's so similar. It's only a couple of degrees off. And sometimes we're not even hotter here. It's actually the Northeast. So I think that's what's beautiful about it is that I still get the changes because I've been in different climates. I've been in rainforests. I've been in more arid areas. I've been in desert areas, and I love them all. Don't get me wrong; they're really very magical and mystical, and the rock formations are incredible. But I definitely am a green seasonal person. Like I cannot wait to see what this place looks like when the fall comes, to see the color changes on the leaves. I'm very excited about that. And I cannot wait to see what it looks like when all the leaves fall, because the views are going to be spectacular, because we have mountain views, but they're kind of cut off by some hills with trees. If you go around the corner a little bit and down about half a mile, that's where it just blows up and opens up to, like, all you see are the Smoky Mountains. But in the wintertime, you're going to see more, because there's going to be leaves that have come off and the trees are going to open up a lot more space. So I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what's to come. I'm excited to see if we see snow caps on the mountains. Doesn't generally snow here, but to see snow caps in the distance, that's really pretty. So it's exciting. I just, and I can't wait to share it with people. I can't wait to share and have people come visit that want to enjoy it as well.
But the beauty of all of that is when we are happy where we are, and that we can acknowledge what we love. And it is so normal to love every season, like a part of every season. Like I love, believe it or not, I love trees. I'm a tree hugger.
So
Fascinated with trees, and I do believe that they move themselves. And I do believe they're an army of one when they protect each other and everything. But I love when the fall reaches that point where fall tells it time to go to sleep, and everything starts drying up and the leaves fall, because you know that they're just going to refertilize it. It's like I love when the fall murders occur, and then the jailbreak free spring. So it's like, every season has its for everybody. And what's important though about us is acknowledging what part in every season is your favorite.
yes, I agree. I agree. But that's knowing self. And that's what we've been pushing since the beginning of the year. And so when Gladiator Guru and I had our conversation yesterday, our hella long conversation, sometimes we get into these spaces where we are just on the phone. We were on there for 2.5 hours yesterday. And we were talking about today's show and Thursday's show, and the importance of really understanding self. This is what it all comes down to, because when you're talking about taking action and you're talking about making things happen, you have got, that was the reason we prepped you since January, is so that you would be very, very clear on who you are, what it is that you want in your life, and what it is that you don't want in your life. And again, a lot of self-help, personal development people, law of attraction people talk about, they always mention, don't focus on what you don't want. Like even The Secrets, don't put the energy into what you don't want. That's true. It's about energy. You have to sometimes know what you want. You sometimes have to be very clear on what you don't want. And I think that's a lot easier for people to just, they've experienced and they say, well, I don't want that anymore. And I definitely don't want that in my life anymore. And then you sort of springboard off of that and say, okay, if I don't want that, then this is what I want. Because I have asked people when I was coaching them early on, when I started coaching, I'd have them write a list of what do you want. And you have some people that are so stuck, they're like, I don't know. Well, just think about some things. I don't know. They would say this all the time. And I'd say, okay, well, how about what don't you want? And the minute that question came out, they were like very hyper focused. Well, I know I don't want this and I don't want that. Okay, great. So think of what you don't want, and the opposite, pretty much, not all the time, but about the opposite will be true, but it gets you going. So when we were speaking yesterday, prepping for this, we were talking about the fact that this is the time for you to be very, very clear on who you are, is being aware, being accepting, being accountable, all the things that we said in January, February, March, April, May, all those things that we said for you to do. Because if you take action and you're still not 100% clear on who you are and what you want, you're going to go in the wrong direction. And then you're going to get frustrated. The moment, though, that you are in alignment with who you are, where you want to be, what you want in your life, everything aligns and flows. So things just happen, and that's, to me, this has been nothing but proof with being down here and doing the things that we've been doing down here. The people that we've met, the people that we've needed to connect to because we can't do everything ourselves. We've been blessed with really amazing contractors coming and giving us pricing on certain jobs, and they're all beautiful people and their energy is fantastic, and hopefully we're weeding out the people that just aren't meant to be. Like, we had one guy that said he was going to come by and do this test on the house. We never heard from him again. But the other guy showed up, and he's like, and we're like, you're hired. And he did the most phenomenal job on power washing this house. So it's like, when you trust in the process, when you're very clear on what it is that you want, who you are, and the direction that you're going, and you don't have to say, I know this exact direction. You could just say, I'm moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm guided to go to the right, then I'll go to the right. But resistance, just like in the Star Trek episode with the oh my God, my sister will remember, the Borg. Resistance is futile. That's such a good line. Resistance is futile, because it's true that when you resist, it persists. Good morning, Iritza.
Iritza. Yeah, I think that what you said is very powerful. The show since January has sparked a lot in me, and had me confront a lot about me. And if we who created these shows and come on every Tuesday and Thursday, happy to discuss it, and we share and we listen and we learn and we teach, because you know what, some of the things you say, it's like, dude, like, oh my God, that's right. And then we share, and it sparks, and then it takes off. And that's what we hope all of this have done, because it has moved us in to take a different route where we thought we were set on it. There's no such learned human on earth that knows it all and doesn't need the firecrackers lit up their ass occasionally. It doesn't exist. And if they do, they're pompous ass, filled with pride and insecurities that don't ask anyone for help or don't share their doubts and concerns with anybody. So the more we speak, the more we share, the more we engage in our lives with other lives, that's when we learn who we are. It's like a boomerang. It's that mirror effect, whatever the hell you want to call it. But it is something that comes back to you, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think of it that way until I heard so-and-so say it, or until I said it out loud, or until Lori, the badass Buddha, was telling the story, and I was like, oh my God, she was talking about my story. That's why we listen, and that's how we learn. And that's how we, the badass Buddha and I, when we have our conversations, we're like, oh my God, Thursday's show brought up this insecurity of mine. It brought up this reality of mine. Or someone shared something that I can use to help somebody who's asked me, but I haven't answered yet. But this, because there's no coincidences, there's no luck. We receive what we need when we need it. What you choose to do it when you get it is up to you. Don't complain later on. But try absorbing shit so that you can then categorize it correctly. Go ahead, badass.
Well, so one of the things that we were discussing yesterday was introducing yourself to yourself. Who are you? Introduce yourself to yourself. And because we have to face certain realities about ourselves. That's the only way that we're going to grow. We have to acknowledge it and then be accountable to it. And some of the conversation that we had yesterday, we were sharing things that experiences that we've had, things that we've done, mistakes that we've made, bad choices that we made. You know how I feel about the word mistake. I think there's very few mistakes. There's mostly bad choices. But we could also look at it as like there's really no bad choice if you learn something from it. You know, sometimes we don't know until we know. And then we say, well, I'm going to try this and I'm going to do this, and that didn't work out. Well, that was a really crappy choice. So what did you learn from it? That's the key. So we'd like to have you take this opportunity to introduce yourself to yourself. Who are you right now? So do you want to introduce yourself, Gladiator Guru, to everybody that's here, including yourself?
Yes. So did you say? I'm sorry, I was sharing. I kept sharing our videos.
Yeah, good morning, India.
So you did say that we would also like for you in the comments to introduce yourself.
Yes.
You did say that.
But get them started. No, I didn't, but thank you. Get them started so they know what we're talking about.
So what we hear is a lot of people, when they meet someone, they'll say, my name is, or hi. And then when people, they get stumped, like they don't know how to introduce themselves. And it's the most simplest thing because you're talking about yourself. So I was telling the badass Buddha that I found a memory on Facebook the other day that came up from 2014. And it said, allow me to introduce myself. So I've been introducing myself forever because people just don't get my name right. And people who know me know how irritable I get when they call me Margarita. So that's what we were discussing yesterday with this. So today we were going to start with, allow me to introduce myself. Hola, mi gente. Yo soy, I am la Margarita. Margarita de Margarita, which means I belong to me. I am a spiritual and creative healing coach. I do coaching. I roast coffees. I'm now making teas. I do art. I write. I am a wordsmith. They flow like the grand waterfall you have ever seen. Boom. That is what I do. Who I am is a fun-loving, bittersweet. I'm that sweet and sour in your life. I am methodical, but I'm also mutable. So what does that do? Sometimes I do everything the same way, and sometimes I just be like, what the hell? Let's try something different. I'm going to try doing it walking backwards. It doesn't matter, whatever fancies me. Who am I? I am a lover of words. I am a compassionate caregiver. Can't believe I said that and meant it. I am a poet. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I am that feisty spitfire gitana that you will ever want to meet and laugh with and have fun with. I am the one you don't want to get on the wrong side. But other than that, I am love. I am Margarita de Margarita.
I'm not that detailed. I'm not going to get into that conversation about what I am. You know where I wrote the best I am was when I was in, I guess it was book number 2 of her badass story. In the personality bio, I put, because I described the badass Buddha. So the badass Buddha describes me. That is something that I claimed, and it took me a little while to claim it because I was never comfortable with saying I am a badass. And then when I started to actually own that, I started to say I am the badass, because I can be now that I am that person now. Well, I will say what I need to say. I will stick up for myself. I will not hold back. But I'm also the Buddha, where I can be very compassionate, very understanding, very empathetic. And it's and I am a constant, what's the word? What's the expression I'm looking for? I'm constantly in flux. I'm constantly learning and creating and recreating, because I am a work in progress. That is definitely for sure for me. Every time I think I've learned something more about myself, something happens, and then I learn more about myself. Mm-hmm. And what I've learned especially is I am still insecure with certain things, and I am moving past that. That's the other part, is I am also moving past it. So I can admit when I make a mistake. I can admit when I make a bad choice. I can admit when I say the wrong thing, but I can also be very steadfast in understanding who I am and what I'm standing for and why I said what I said. If I didn't say it in the way that I'm happy about, there's another way to say it. I've learned from that. But I've learned I am not apologetic. I apologized my whole life for things that I didn't even do. So I am unapologetically courageous. That mantra really fits for me, very much so. I don't apologize for who I am. I apologize if I make a mistake and do something to affect somebody else, not offend, because I'm not in control of how they feel. But so I am very aware. I am very mindful, and I'm very proud of that fact. I amaze myself on a daily basis at what I've been able to accomplish, because sometimes I didn't even know what I knew, and it's become very clear over the last 4 weeks for me. So that when you are asked, who are you? This is a thing that you should ask yourself on a weekly basis. Maybe not daily, but every week. Because see if it changes a little bit. See if you've added on. I am not the person today. I am not the person I was a month ago. I am not the person I was 4 months ago. I am who I am now. And I'm very happy with who I am now. And I'll be happier with who I continue to grow to be. So this is the reason this is so important. It has to do with, today we're talking about breaking the chains of conformity. So if you're taking action, not if, when you're taking action, we want to know now, are you taking action based on what others are doing, or are you taking your own action? Gladiator Guru, didn't you, good morning, Gwen. Didn't you, in your journal, you asked that question, right? Don't you ask about the I am questions in your...
Yeah, in the beginning of the journal, it's like, who am I? Because sometimes we conform to what we've done and where we are, with no vision to where we want to be or who we want to become.
Yes.
That we think we can describe, who am I? And then at the end, then throughout the journal, there's one question that pops up like slut magic, and that is, are you happy? Then at the end, it's a big thing, and it says, I am. Because with confidence now, you have learned yourself enough through just the simplest questions to say, I am. Because the main question that you got to ask yourself is your life worth living? Is your life worth living? Because an unexamined life is not worth living. So you got to ask yourself the questions, asking yourself that question, it helps unravel your potential. It helps you find your purpose. It helps you find your way. It helps you discover what is the balance in my life where I can battle this chaos and come out on top. Because only you can do that. But yeah, it is. This show is really great. It's very, I can't even say enough about it. So thank you for everyone coming on.
And let's look at Milagros put, hello, I'm Milagros Medina, a survivor and warrior who loves to enjoy life. Yep. And we know this is true because we know her. That is exactly spot on. Have you ever spoken to somebody or done it yourself where somebody asks you, who are you? And like this type of question, like, who are you? And you find yourself saying stuff that isn't even necessarily true. Or somebody else is answering that question and you know them and you're listening going, that's not true about them. And but we don't worry about the other person. We have to worry about ourselves. We want to know that what we are saying is true. That's where that never lie to yourself comes in. Say it in Spanish. Say it in Spanish. Never lie to yourself.
Nunca te engañes, because you could be, how many times are you standing in front of somebody and they're telling you something with so much conviction, like, oh, and it's like, wow. And if you didn't know them, you would believe them, but you're looking at them saying, what the hell are they saying? I was with them last night. But it's so easy when you've built that kind of facade in your life where your lies become intertwined with the truth, and that's why you're believing. So there's really, you really can't identify which is which. So don't lie to yourself, because let me tell you something. Throughout my life and my experience, the people who hate to be lied to are the motherfuckers always lying to themselves.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
that's an
can't.
ouch for me because I hate being lied to. So I have to sit with that one today.
Yeah, because you know what? I've reached a point where, to be able to tell someone, because I've lived it. The Badass Buddha has lived it. Emotions arrive to you to go through you. They're to awake something in you, make you wake up, see something at that moment, or a thought you've been having. Emotions come to you. At the time, it's not even being born from you, it's somebody thrusting it, and not in a good way, upon you. And then they come to us to go through us, right? But what do? We put them in a headlock and we cage them up inside our thoughts, inside our minds, inside our emotions, and we hijack that emotion, and it just takes over us. And emotion is just that. It comes to you to go through you. And if you figure out why was this emotion brought to your door, then you would know to quickly run through the house and open the back door so it could go right out. Because we have to protect ourselves. We have to say, we can't do this anymore. And so when you reach a point where when someone's lying to you, and I try, my face speaks louder than my mouth. And if you know me, my mouth is
I
loud.
don't know.
And so
I think
you
it
have
could
to
speak
hold
pretty
it.
loud.
But the thing is that my aunt used to always tell me for years, and I never got it until I self-isolated really thoroughly. But I was trying really hard prior to that to get out of that survival mode. But she always said, Margarita, cuando te vas a salir de la casa, ponte vaselina para que todo te resbale. She says, Margarita, before you leave the house, lather yourself in Vaseline so all the bullshit can glide right off of you. So whatever was not for me would not linger around me or on me. And, I love the way they say it in Spanish, but it is so true. So when someone lies to us, who's more important, that person in their lie or you knowing that you are on solid foundation?
Yes.
And this is something I had to learn because I was such that gladiator, the untrained slave that just had to fight for everything. And I would be at your door. I just didn't like it. I never argued over the phone, through text, but I'm Generation X, so we didn't get text until later on. It was always at your door, hello. And that was just a way of life. So when you come to a point where you just laugh, you look at them and you giggle like, okay, that's you. And you move on because that person just remember, cut. We have the right to do that. Are we going to get upset when close people lie to us, when it's something we could have helped them with? Or it was so unnecessary? You interrupted my life to tell me a lie? Yeah, help me. Now I burned some brain cells trying to help you solve something that wasn't, or questioning myself on something. We're human. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But what badass can you recommend to us to be a point where we're not wasting time?
It's wasting the key to not
On
wasting.
anybody but us and our growth.
the key to not wasting time is clarity of self. I mean, it took me forever to figure this out, but it is the truth, because the more you know you, and the more you own you, and accept you, and say, this is who I am, and this is what I want in my life, and this is what I don't want, then you won't make time for those other people. You won't have time for those other people. You just won't be bothered. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. And breaking the chains of conformity, when you're taking action, what we're talking about is saying, okay, let's say you decided to go traveling. Let's say you decided to go hiking, across the mountains in Italy. I'm going to throw, I'm going to connect it to my sister here, but you do you the best. You know what you're capable of. And if you don't, you need to get to know you. Like, that's the thing. So you have to know what you're capable of. You have to know what you can, what you can't do. Just because you say you can't do it doesn't mean you can't. You might have to do some extra steps.
Mm-hmm.
You prepare for yourself, you get to know yourself, and then you decide, okay, I want to do this and I want to do that. And it's about creating it. You could start by reading up on it. You could listen to some podcasts, you could watch some videos. When we talk about breaking the chains of conformity, what we're saying is, you don't have to do it exactly like the person did it. You have to know you, and then you adapt to that's what's being shown you. That's the beauty of it. See, when somebody teaches you something,
that's the
you
key.
adapt. That's the key. When somebody teaches you something, you don't necessarily have to do it exactly the way they do it. Now, sometimes you do and you want to, but then it could veer. Sometimes you don't veer. But what we're saying is, for those of you out there that feel like, well, this works, but it doesn't work exactly perfect, that means that what's required of you is to make it fit you, adapt that information to you. And if somebody says to you, no, you have to do it exactly this way, you have to do it my way, that's a red flag saying, I mean, there's certain things, okay, like, I don't know why this popped into my head. Let's say scuba diving. You want to learn you want to get certified to scuba dive. Yes, there's certain things that you must do when you are learning the scuba dive and the scuba diver, and you don't want to veer too much out of the way because you could die. I mean, that's, if they say to you, well, when you go down, dive deeply, when you come up, you have to stop at certain levels and balance out. And you say, no, I'm just going to come up really quick. I don't need to listen to that. I'm going to do my own thing. Well, you're going to have to go to the hospital because you'll get beds. So there's certain things that you have to look at. And again, when understanding self, you'll know in that information what is a necessity and what is just extra stuff that I can discern, I can look at, step back, make observations, make decisions off of that work for me.
Yes.
Then move forward on my own path.
Yes, because you got to ask yourself those uncomfortable questions. You got to have those uncomfortable conversations with yourself, whether it's in the mirror, whether you're sitting in your favorite chair with your legs up and your cup of coffee, a cup of tea in your hand, or your Bacardi and Coke. I don't care who's saying anything negative, right? You have to find your comfort zone, but you got to ask yourself those uncomfortable questions. You got to ask, and I wrote some down as we were having the conversation yesterday, where are you right now in your life? Because asking yourself determines where you are, where you've been, and where you intend to go. See, the Badass Buddha and I put all of these together to propel you to the next question so that you can take the next 5 or 6, 7 steps to catch up to your spirit, because your purpose is already cut out. Your path has already been set. The light bulb has been broke. It needs repair. It needs attention. That's where you step in. So by asking yourself, am I living an unexamined life that may not be worth living? So you determines where you are, where you've been, and where you intend to go. And it helps you understand how these questions have shaped your life. The actions, how these actions where you either ignored yourself, surrendered to the wrong person because you didn't want to be alone, sacrifice your freedom to make someone else feel safe in their little afraid of everything kind of world. So it helps to unravel your potential, finding your purpose and finding your balance. Because you know what? Let me tell you, that wave of chaos that happens in all of our lives is real. And to find the balance, to jump off of that wave of chaos, which I've written, I think in her badass story number 2.
Yep.
It's also in my Soul Searching for Peace. Finding the courage to jump off the wave of chaos, which means you are doing, well, I don't even know what it is, badass, a 180, a 360 in your life
180.
at all cost. At all costs, which means you're going to lose family members, you're going to lose friends, you're going to lose all your material belongings, you're going to lose anything that you have placed much more value over than yourself. You will lose it when you decide to build that courage, grab that bravery, and jump off that wave of chaos. And the price really isn't that high. It will be a cost that you can and will say, oh my God, I'm so glad I did that when I did that. So, one, what phase are you in currently? What is it teaching you? Everything we have spoken about till today. Which Badass is going to go over that first part, because when she explained it to me yesterday, because, we go through the show, and I just sat there and I listened because it flowed so naturally. That is like gets sewn into the tapestry of your thought process, and it makes you question yourself. So she would, if you can, badass, if you can go over, like, I think you have it written down. And number 2 is, what are you holding on to that is limiting you from being the best you can be? Now, for those who remember, this key it goes with the journals that I sell, but I put these keys because at the end of the day, you are the gatekeeper to your life. Everything that has happened to you has been by some way, shape, or form or choice you have made. And the truth, and the most uncomfortable conversation you're going to have with truth, is that you are where you are because you turned a blind eye to what was going on. You refused to see the red flag, so you saw them kind of pinkish because you stirred in some white into that bitch so that it doesn't look so scary. You didn't wake up from whatever fantasy you were living in, so moments passed you by and you're like, how did I get here? So everything that happens to us was brought to us to see, and then because we hold that key to our own life. So whether you pretended it wasn't happening, you act so belligerently ignorant to yourself that you just said, oh no, that can't be. He really didn't mean that. She didn't mean to say that. Then you know what? Until you take full responsibility for what's happening in your life and around you, you're going to always blame everything outside of you. And the key here was not always just like, oh, cute key to write with. It's to remind you, no mas. Stop letting people, places, and things, wash you up to shore. So you never really go out to be free into the sea, and you're never really stranded on the sand. You're just doing this. So how could you make a decision for yourself? And since January, everything we spoke about was to get you to put your big girl panties on and says, okay, this don't work for me no more. This isn't happening. I must prepare myself for the change I have to make, because preparation is key. Go ahead, badass.
When you are not 100% on board with yourself, if you don't, there's an expression, and it's also a song, You got to stand for something, meaning stand for yourself. And this is what I'm saying is the song and the expression means stand up for something, like something that you believe in. But how about yourself? You stand up for something or you fall for anything. And I think back to, and this is something that Gladiator Guru and I were speaking on yesterday. I told her a story and I said, when I was, what's very interesting about being down in this area in Eastern Tennessee, and it's been a beautiful reminder. This is why I don't believe there are no coincidences, number one. And when you open yourself up to who you are and trust in that process, you are guided to where you are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely was supposed to be here. And what's interesting is what I've noticed down here is, like, I'll go to Lowe's, and Lowe's and Home Depot have always been my favorite places. I just walk into that store and I just love the smell. I've always liked building things. I've always been that way, right? And so I walk in and I'm blown away at how many women go into the Lowe's over here. They'll go in by themselves. They're all shapes, sizes, ages. You have young women, you have older women. They're not always going in with a man. Like, see, when I walk into the Home Depot at back east, northeast, the women come in, they're usually with a guy. They're usually with their significant other or whatever. Not saying that I don't see women, but I have to tell you, I don't see a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this to be true because but since I've been here, it has been very obvious. I keep saying to myself, that's so interesting. Never seen, and we're talking like they're hauling stuff in their carts, they're putting stuff in there, they're like building and creating. I've also seen a lot of women riding motorcycles by themselves, and not that I don't see that in Connecticut, but they're a certain age. Like, they're under a certain age. All the women that I have seen riding motorcycles in Connecticut they look like they're in their 20s. Here, they're like all ages.
And I love seeing that.
And the funny part is that when I was in my 20s, so we're talking very like 1990, that's I was 20 in 1990. When in 1989, I got a tattoo when nobody else got them. There were only bikers getting tattoos. When I was 21 years old, I got my motorcycle license. When I was 22, 23 years old, I was building things. And it never occurred to me that it was unusual because I wanted to do that. I wanted to get my motorcycle license. I wanted to do all these things. I wanted to have a trailer and pull things and make things. And it wasn't until people started to feed me information that made me question myself. And it's not their fault. See, I'm not going to blame them. I mean, I could, to be easier. I allowed that. I allowed myself to be influenced by my first husband. I allowed myself to be influenced by my second husband. I allowed myself to be influenced by certain people in my life, friends, family members, whatever. And I would always second guess myself and question myself until the last 4 years when I finally said, I don't really give a shit what you have to say. And here's the thing is, I'm not mean about it because you go through that. When you come to terms with, I let myself be pushed around, you get angry and you go the opposite way. You're like, F you and F you, I don't care what you have to say. But then you come back to balance because now you're very clear on yourself. And you could say, well, I appreciate your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there is some information that might be useful because you discern, you step back and you say, do they have something of value by what they're saying? If they don't, move on. If they do, take it in and then work it through, but still make sure that you're you. So for me, I don't care what people have to say, but I take it in and I apply it. When I was telling my ex that I was going to take the kids and the dogs cross country, there was a lot of resistance there. Well, what if this goes wrong? Well, you're going to be by yourself. We do blah blah. And I want to do this. And we had a blast. Like it was the greatest experience we had, so much so that I wanted to do it the next year. Right. And same thing with doing things, making things, building things. I'm at a point where I know my limitations. My sister and I do what we can on the house, and what we cannot do, I'll flat out tell her, I definitely can't do that. We're gonna have to hire somebody to do it. And she's like, good, then we'll hire somebody to do it. We get right on top of it. Or I'll learn. Well, you know what? I probably could try. Let me see if I can learn how to do it. And if I can, great. And if I can't, then we'll hire somebody. But it's because I've owned myself. I know what my limitations are. I decide if my limitations are fixable, or if I have to cut it loose and say, right now at this point in my life, it's not, it's a limitation and I don't have the time to fix it. So if I could sit there and say, well, we have to hire somebody to fix the barn roof, could I do it myself? Probably. I'm not ready to, and I don't want to. So we have to have somebody do it. Next year, maybe,
I think that is so, you know what is so liberating? To be able to say no and not have to apologize. And when you say no, you're coming from a place of, see, there's people who throw their weight around and would just say, no, I don't want to do it because they think they got it like that. And shame on you. And I've met a lot of those people. Like, okay. And then there's those people that really know themselves to say, you know what, I can do that. But right now I have X and Y, Z project that I really have to tend to. You think we can either delay this project, or if it can't be delayed, then we're going to have outside help. Yeah. Or, you know what, I believe I can do anything because I believe I can fly, right? But I really don't want to mess it up because this is important. That is so beautiful. Forget powerful. To know who you are, what your capabilities are, or to be so honest with yourself and those around you that you would say, we got to delegate it to someone who is licensed or someone who does this for a living. And that is beautiful. Like, look at Iritza, what she wrote. Good morning. I am Iritza, PhD, professional hair designer. I'm a mother, a lover, a God-fearing woman, and I'm strong and soar like the phoenix. You know what? Beautiful. We all love the phoenix. And that's powerful too. I love the PhD, professional hair designer. I do too. And I love that you wrote a God-fearing woman, because so many people are so afraid to talk about God, to write about God, to post about God. So amen. When people say, what are you doing? Somebody called me and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to get it right with Jesus. That's all I said throughout my day. So that's what it is. When there was something else we were going to share. That story was beautiful to me because when she was telling it yesterday, she did get a tattoo, and tattoos were only for the Hells Angels, and she rode a motorcycle when all you saw riding was the Hells Angels, and their women's that mostly was like on the back seat. Yeah. And then they started driving for themselves, and then when she put herself where she was vulnerable and honest, that she imprisoned herself so that her men wouldn't feel intimidated or wouldn't be offended or wouldn't think that she was trying to be like them. So she lowered her standards and she packed away her hard work and her desires and her likes so that she can be loved. And for her to say that, her vulnerability is so empowering to other women who won't share their stories or tell themselves their story. So they lock them up in their thoughts. When you become a storyteller to yourself, nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. You know why? Because when you tell a story to yourself, go in your closet if you have to, but say it out loud. and then let it re-enter through your ears, and then it's gonna reach your thoughts, and you're gonna be like, oh my God, I spent weeks horrified about this, and it's not even that big of a deal. Only
Yeah.
you can
Oh.
say that to yourself. Only you can say no mas. You know, I'm a coffee drinker. Everybody who knows me knows I love, 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 love coffee. I have 5 or 6 cups a day. Well, now it's my 4th day. No, I can't, because Iris popped up like slut magic last night, Irita. I think 10 o'clock, right? You left almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And she came for a cup of coffee. Now, let me back up a bit. Yesterday, when I was talking to the badass Buddha, I confessed, and it wasn't hard, but it's hard, because once I said it, I was like, oh my God. Because I always made a cup of coffee right before bed, no matter what time it was, because that was my nightcap. But a couple weeks after arriving here in Connecticut, I noticed I wasn't sleeping right. I kept hearing things, and when I sleep, I'm dead. I never get up to pee in the middle of the night. I am like, boom, I'm out. But lately, I've been hearing every little thing, and I've been jumping up, and I'm like, what the hell? And, if anybody knows me, knows my spiritual level. So I kept saying, I had to keep praying. I stood up like, demons, leave. I rebuke you in the name of the Lord, because it was just too much. But I told my sister, I don't want to drink coffee after 7, no later than 8. So for 3 days, that's what I had. It was happening, and I was falling asleep. It was helping me. Why I fell asleep, Iris, at 5:15 this morning.
Oh my God, you didn't sleep at all.
And I kept saying, okay, I have 2 hours to sleep, because my alarm is for 7:15. I have 2 hours. Girl, I was up at 6:55 after the last time I looked at the time.
You look great, though, I have to say.
Because I'm phenomenal. Look, boom. And the thing is that it is. So unfortunately, at this time in my life, I'm going to have to do 1 cup of coffee a day. And I'm okay about it. You know why? Because the habit of me drinking coffee all the time is what stings of me choosing not to. Not the fact that I need it to survive. It is enjoyable. It is something that evoked happy childhood memories for me, and of happy times in my life. And it just, it was my best friend. When I'm alone is when I really love to drink my coffee, and it became my best friend. But right now, my body is going through, it must be that 7-year stage where my body's like, no more cafe, por favor, and it's like,
Por favor, Margarita.
so I'm gonna have, you know what? I might just I'll alternate. One night is chamomile tea, and the other night it's a glass of wine. I don't know. I'll keep you posted. But what I'm saying is, we have to listen to our bodies the way we listen to our heart and souls. Our mind, because of the emotions that we hold hostage in there, because of the self-doubt and the lack of self-love and the, who am I? All of that happens here. You have to listen mostly to your body.
Yes.
Because my body was saying, why are you making us heavy with this coffee? And it's hard for me. It was hard for me after I said it to the badass Buddha yesterday. Because now I have to hold myself accountable, because in order for me to have said that to her, it was my truth. And it flowed out so like nothing, like me saying hi. So it was a fact. And then when Iris came last night, which I enjoyed the visit, it was really, we laughed and everything. It just was proof. It was proof of the conversation that I had with the badass Buddha earlier. So that's something I'm changing. What is something you're going to change temporarily until you see? I might introduce coffee back, but at this point, in this season,
Yes.
at this time, in my life, because there's no mistakes, there's no coincidences. I cannot drink coffee at night. So think about yourself. Who are you today? Not who
Yeah.
you've always been. Who are
Yes.
you today?
Yes.
Who have you been in the last couple days? What has been irritating you? What has been leaving you less than satisfactory? What give you that? What isn't arousing your palate? And then cut it out, or avoid it for a couple of days, or just say, you know what, I'm putting you in the corner. You're in timeout for a couple of days. So what would you say you're at, badass?
What do you mean? Like, where am I at with who I
Like,
am?
there's what's something that you had to put in the corner for right now about you. Mine's just my coffee, my lifeline.
I don't know. I don't think I've put anything in the corner. I mean, I think my limitations. That's what I put into the corner. Instead of saying to myself that I can't do that, I know in these last 4 weeks and going forward that I have a solution. I will create a solution. And I think that's been a big thing for me, because when we're talking about conformity, I have been that person. Even in the last 7 years, I've been that person who's listened to people, followed suit. But now I've definitely put that aside and said, okay, I'm going to use discernment, and I'm going to decide, will this work for me? Will this not work for me? So going forward, that's the never lie to yourself. I refuse to lie to myself. I will no longer lie to myself and say, well, okay, I feel guilty about that. One of the things that we were talking about, and I don't want to get into a long conversation because we're coming to the end here, but we were talking about supplements. How many times have you, the
That's
viewers,
right.
gone to like a party, like somebody invites you to a party, where they're selling products, they're selling appliances, they're selling whatever, and you go in there going, I'm just going to go because they invited me, but I really don't have a lot of money to spend, and I don't really use these products. And then you walk out and you spent like $200. And you spent $200 because, well, I wanted to help out the person that was hosting, or, they were kind of pushing it. And whatever it is, you chose to do that. And if you find that every time you go somewhere, you do that, if you're watching something on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, and they're advertising this supplement, and you were thinking, oh, I haven't been feeling that great, and I'm going to order that. How many supplements have you ordered that you never finished, that just sit there? And I'm just as guilty, and I should know better because I am a health and wellness professional. But we have this idea that if I do this, then this will be better. But take that step back and say to yourself, what is it that I'm looking for? Am I doing this because this is really important to me and this is specifically what I want? Or am I conforming to what's in right now? Am I buying those pair of sneakers because that's the in thing right now? Am I doing this because that's what everybody else is doing? I feel kind of guilty. I'm pushed into it. I've learned to be very honest with people, and especially the most challenging is with myself.
Yeah.
Somebody invites me to a thing and says, oh, I'm having this pop-up party, blah, blah, blah. I'll say, would you go? I'll say, I'll go. I would love to, but I'm probably not going to buy anything. And if I do, I'm not going to buy much. I want them to know that up front, because I don't want them to have an expectation that I'm going to come and I'm going to make them, bring up because I've bought so much stuff that I don't use. And it's been a waste of money because I couldn't be honest with them, nor for myself. I love the camaraderie. I love going to those parties, and I don't want to be rude, but I need to say that up front to people and say, I would love to come, but please know that I may not buy anything. And if they say, oh my gosh, that's fine, just come, wonderful. If they're hesitant because they were looking for that, then I graciously, push myself out so that it makes room for somebody else to come that's going to buy. But it's all the information that I have been receiving. I have been taking it in for myself and making it work for me. So the things that I pushed aside are my limitations and my need to do it because this person did it this way or this person. It's take it in, know that I'm worthy and I am stronger than I believe myself to be most of the time. And then say, what information can I get from this and how am I going to apply it to
Yeah.
me?
And I think that was wonderful because we all guilty of that. So look around, look at all the money that has been flushed down the toilet, and look where you are. What have you decided? Because the very important key is that we buy all these supplements because we heard about it, we read about it, we were told about it, but we didn't seek to give ourselves the importance to say, do I need this though? Is this going to help me? Am I going to research it, see if it's worthy to be put inside of my temple? And that's what this is all about. What is the title of this show, Badass?
Breaking the chains of conformity.
Stop conforming to people, places, and things. When you put the love and care into you, you're gonna look at things differently. The blinders come off, the rose-colored shades come off, that you turn off the volume from people trying to persuade you or sometimes even force upon you products that they bought, and now they don't want to be the only idiot, so they want you to be as well, so they get you. But trust me, I've met people like that. Or just buy it, I got it and it's good. And even with that Pro Vitalize that came out, tell me how many of us didn't fall for it. I bought one because somebody said, oh my God, it's so good, it's helped me, it's done this and that. I can't even finish the bottle, and it was like $49. What happens? We have to, there's no quick fixes in life. You don't get over a heartbreak at X amount of time if you do X amount of this. You don't stop mourning a death of a loved one in X amount of time, or if you do this. You don't lose your belly fat if you do this and swallow this. How much disgusting shit is out there for you to drink to shrink your stomach, right? You're not gonna grow your butt by doing this. Stop it. Love yourself where you're at and figure out which route is best for your body that is going to bring you a peace of mind. When you break those chains of living up to people's expectations or falling into whatever scams they have going on in the name of love, then you are going to realize that you have broken free even from your own prison cell.
Yay.
Because only you can
That's
do
nice. That's nice. Well, so break the chains of conformity. Start again, keep going with this. Thursday, we're going to be talking about how everything is connected. So you have to do you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you.
Do you, baby. And sometimes that's the safest.
Yeah, that's the truth. You don't even have to wear protection. Do you? And then we're going to be talking about how everything is connected, because when you align with you, the amount of energy, vibrational energy that comes off of you that is so powerful, it affects people around you. So we're going to be talking about that on Thursday. So thanks for being here today. Any last words, Gladiator Guru, before
You know what? I love eating. You should do something that says you have a PhD, because I love that. I mean, I believe we had a show where we had acronyms or the alphabet, didn't we, to describe who we were? And so that made me laugh. I really love that. And to everybody who came on, Lily Price, welcome.
Yes.
And Leanne, you know what? Leanne, I love you. You always write deep shit. And for those who take their time to chat in the box, we thank you. And sometimes we know that we're early, people are on their way to work. Not everybody can pull over and write, but you listen and you share. And you know, I know many of us hear what is said on this show and they repeat it to someone else. And that's all we ask. Pay it forward. And if you believe in what you heard, if it touch the nerve or massage a wound for you, and you're sharing it with somebody else, then that's your story. What you heard was said for you, if it helped you in any kind of way. So when you go and you reshare the story, you don't have to say the badass Buddha or the gladiator guru said this and I learned from it because I felt it in my soul. Because if you felt it in your soul, then today's message was for you. And when you share it forward, that's with the fuerza, the coge that you're gonna say it with. And then they pay it forward and they pay it forward. And one person at a time, we are helping to change lives for the better.
And
So
thank you, Desiree. Yes, you're right, Desiree. We appreciate that. We appreciate everybody who shares. And we really are very grateful to that. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you on Thursday. Take care.
what happened?
I don't know.
Uh,
There we go.
you froze.
Okay.
What did you say?
From the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
Thank you. And from the gladiator guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.